morning, Jamaica. This is Mark Golding, President of the People's National Party and Leader of the Opposition. Thank you for tuning in and listening to what's on my mind this morning. For several weeks now, Jamaica has been reeling in the face of the huge controversy created by the government's decision to pay its cabinet members and other elected officials massive increases ranging from 200 to 300% arising out of the public sector pay restructuring exercise. That decision came after the conclusion of the settlement of pay increases for very critical public sector groups: the nurses, the teachers, the police officers, the correctional officers, and others. The rank and file professionals among those classes of workers have been left feeling demotivated, demoralized, and unfairly treated. Many of them, when they see their take-home pay, feel that they are no better off, and some even feel worse off by what has happened. The question therefore arises, how could Andrew Holness and his cabinet decide to increase their own pay and the pay of other elected officials by 200 to 300% when the vast majority in the public service got increases around 20%, take-home pay marginally different to what they were getting before, and feeling very dissatisfied and upset by how they were treated? I have been calling for the government to roll back this increase, cancel it, refer the matter to an independent panel of reputable and experienced people who can look at the whole matter afresh. They must take into account the principle of equity within the public service so that those at the top and the bottom and in between have a proportionate situation which people can understand and feel is justified. They must also take into account what comparable countries similar to Jamaica in size and wealth are able to pay elected officials. And based on those deliberations, they can make a recommendation which will be objective, independent, and therefore much more likely to be acceptable to the society. The opposition was not consulted on the amount of this increase. We were simply told in Parliament by the Minister of Finance that these were the massive increases that the Andrew Holness government had decided to give themselves and other elected officials. I do not have power personally to direct the government to roll it back. All I can do is call for that and lobby for that, and I will continue to do so. I've also told the public I will be keeping 20%, which is a minimum amount that anyone in the public service was awarded in the restructuring, and I'll be giving away 80% of my increase to worthy causes. And I've already implemented that decision in relation to the retroactive amount that I received last week Friday. I am also calling on the government to implement and pass into law the constitutional amendment legislation that I tabled over 2 years ago in the House of Representatives to create a mechanism for impeachment of parliamentarians whose behavior falls below the standard expected of a holder of that office. There needs to be accountability in the system for those who transgress in a serious way. I am also in favor of Jamaica studying a system of recall where electors who elect a representative to Parliament and who feel that the performance of their parliamentarian is below par and needs to be addressed, if a sufficient number of them join together, can petition for the recall of that MP. These are methods that have been tried and tested in other jurisdictions and which will enhance the trust and confidence that the Jamaican people have in the political system and in their leaders. Without accountability, without transparency, there is a great tendency to assume the worst. And we do live in a society where corruption is rampant, and this government has shown itself to be fully tainted by that problem over the last 7 years while they've been in office. So in closing, to our teachers, to our police officers, to our correctional officers, anyone in the public sector who feels hard done by and aggrieved by the outcome of this restructuring exercise, you have my sympathy. We will be reviewing the situation when we form government. And in the meantime, this unconscionable increase for the ministers and elected officials must be rolled back and reviewed afresh by an independent panel so that we can have an outcome that the society as a whole will agree with and accept. Time come to listen to the people. Time come for a better way forward. One love. Thanks for listening, and join me again next week to hear what's on my mind.